Hello YouTube and welcome back. It's been a while and I'm sorry I haven't uploaded a video in a long time. I kind of got distracted with my personal life. I got a new job and YouTube just kind of fell by the wayside. I know some of you really enjoy my videos and I haven't uploaded in quite a long time, so I really have to apologize. And for those of you who are returning, I want to thank you for sticking with me in the time that I haven't been here. I was planning on my next video upload being a Destiny versus Warhammer 40k video, and it would be, would the Vex be able to survive in Warhammer 40k? Unfortunately, while I was doing research into the Vex, I saw that next month is going to be a major DLC, the first one Bungie's having since they left Activision, and it's going to be partially focused on the Vex. And since that'll bring a lot of new lore to the table, I'd like to wait until after the expansion comes out and we get all of those juicy details before I make that video. So I decided instead of that Vex video, I will be doing a painting tutorial. And I know there's quite a few painting channels on YouTube, but I love mini painting. It is my favorite hobby. And I'm hoping that you guys can get something out of it. And if you get anything out of this video, if it helps you paint any minis, or you just enjoy the video, please leave a like and let me know in the comments so I can do this again. If you don't like it, well, let me know. Anyway, so the model we have here is the brand new Primaris Invictor Tactical Warsuit. And as you can see, I've primed it with Macragge blue. So I'll be painting it like the boys from Macragge, the Ultramarines. I know Ultramarines are kind of the black sheep of the Space Marine family. You know, everyone and their grandmother has an Ultramarine army. I will mostly be following the color scheme that GW has on their website for this miniature. I might make a few minor adjustments. But other than that, let's get started. So the paints I have here, let's go from left to right. I have ceramite white, which I vastly prefer. So let's get started with the my paints, in case you guys want to break out your paints and follow along. I'll start from left to right and then the shaders, and I'll mention the paints again before I start every part of it. So my paint list, starting from left to right, is ceramite white, Abaddon black, Runefang steel, So my paint list, starting from left to right, is ceramite white, Abaddon black, Runefang steel, Mechanicus standard gray, Retributor armor, Macragge blue, Screaming skull, Fenrisian gray, Ushabti bone, Khorne red, Emperor's children, Mephiston red, Flashgitz yellow, and Evil Sun's scarlet. And these should be all the paints I need. If I need any more, I'll grab them and let you guys know what I'm grabbing. I'm also going to mention each paint I need as I paint the parts, so don't worry about that. And also, I only grabbed 2 shaders, and that's Known Oil and Seraphim Sepia. I'm not using Agrax Earthshade because I don't really want the model to have a dirty, grungy look. And so anything I need to shade, I'll shade with Known, make it look oily, greasy, mechanical. You get the idea. And then the Seraphim Sepia will just be for the purity seals. But as you can see, I don't have any purity seals on him yet because I will be painting those separately and then gluing them on as to not accidentally get any of the Screaming Skull, Ushabti bone, or the pink colors onto it. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. I already forgot to paint. So, I guess we know how this is going to be going. So I grabbed 2 more paint pots. One is lead belcher for all the metal bits, and then the other is Lamian medium for sealing down the transfer sheets when we get to that. But that'll be at the very end. We'll get started on the lead belcher. And we're going to use the lead belcher to pick out all of the little metal bits. I don't really thin down my metallics. I don't really feel like they need to be thinned, and thinning them gives them kind of a weird consistency. So let's get started with the roll cage. And the roll cage I don't have glued down, so I can open it up and paint on the inside when I need to. And just so you guys know, I'm using very, very cheap brushes. So whatever I'm doing here, you can do with a brush that you get for you can do with a set of brushes that you get for like $3 at your local store. I'll do a couple thin coats, and we'll pick out all the metal bits like the roll cage, the antennae, the gun barrels, and a lot of the internal components. And I don't think I mentioned it, but the roll cage actually isn't glued down at the moment. So I can get all of the important little bits on the inside. And then after that's done, I'm going to glue it into place, so it will never open again. Don't worry about getting the lead belcher on these little middle bits right here, because we're going to make that black later. And anything else that we get anywhere else, we can just clean up when the time comes. And I know my camera doesn't have the best quality, but unfortunately, it's the best one I have. And you have my sincerest apologies for the potentially blurry imagery. just keep layering it on nice and thin. Well, as thin as unthin metals can be. But just keep adding those layers. Until you are happy with the result. All right. Oh. And as you might be able to tell, I have 3 different water cups. Well, 4, technically. I have 1 for cooler colors, 1 for warmer colors, and 1 for metallics, as so I don't get any metal bits in my other 2, and I don't get the hots and the cools mixed up. So next, let's get started on some of the internal components, like the internal chassis of the legs and the crotch area. There is a lot here to get painted, and my metallic, because I washed out my brush, my metallics are kind of thin, so I'll just be doing a quick layer of as much as I can. And I'm sorry if my big head gets in the way. So, just gonna get everything I can. Actually, because the area to get is so large, I'm going to swap over to my Citadel large base brush, and this will probably help get these very large areas primed or painted very quickly. And then we can go in later, or well, I guess we can just go in right now and clean up most of the details that we miss or, you know, just can't hit because of the size of the brush. So I'll probably speed up some of the footage as to make it not boring as you're just sitting at home watching along. I don't want this video to be 4 hours, so yeah, I'm probably going to speed it up a bit. And I'll be back to you once this step is done. Now I believe everything that I want to be lead belcher is lead belcher. Oh, sorry, one more tiny little area. There we go, adorable little missile silo. Alrighty. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and clean it up with some Macragge blue. We'll go back to the basics. This is what I primed it with. And so let's go back and clean up all of those major spots. As I mentioned before, I'm just getting the worst sins of the lead belcher because I am going to go back and dry brush later. So those little parts where I got the raised edges, like where I caught a couple edges, they'll first be covered up by a different dry brush, and then finally the texture dry brush of lead belcher will come around and hide it, that it was ever a mistake to begin with. Alright. Just go around and check if there's anything else that's just egregious. That's just awful, awful, awful. Actually, it looks like it's painted with lead belcher instead of being metal. That's the thing. You want your minis to... You don't want your minis to look like they're painted, which is ironic, I know. But you want your miniatures to look like they are the color that they were made to be. Alright. I think that about does it for the Macragge blue. Next, let's move on to Abaddon. Next, let's move on to Abaddon Black. So, we'll take Abaddon Black. So we'll take Abaddon Black. We already gave it a nice shake. And so let's start with a smaller brush. So I'm going to take a linear size 1 brush, get some Abaddon Black on here. Go ahead and get these little foam protective covers, you know, the kinds that you see on a roller coaster. We don't want him getting all shook up while he's in there. These Primaris, they can't take a lot. They bruise easily. This one twisted his ankle and he's already in a dreadnought. going to paint all of the inner bits of the Space Marine's power armor. Sorry if my hand is blocking the way, blocking the light. So we're going to paint the inside of his torso. We're going to paint his seatbelt. That's an important bit. Let's see, we're going to leave this belt down here blue. But let's paint the controls just a bit. So let's get this black. And this over here, let's also make it black. So both of his little control panels are black. Sorry if that's hard to see. Don't know if... And then we're going to get the inside of his mouth as best as we can. So, after that, the next major spot that will be painted Abaddon black is the majority of the bolter outside of the clip and a few minor parts. The arm likes to pop into the way, so we're going to just give it Alright, now that we've got it painted back to Abaddon, now we've got it painted to Abaddon black, let's pick out all of the little metal bits again. Make them real nice and shiny. Really make them stand out against the black. Clean up any spots that we mistakenly painted over. And there we are. Looking nice. Alright. So the next bit we'll get are these little protector pads down here. There we go. There we go. Another major part is the majority of this big gun up here. So that's black. This is all black. Except for the skull, but we'll get to that in a second. Everything on top. All down here. I'm going to need to get a fine detail brush in there. But for right now, just get the basic colors down. Get them where they're supposed to go. And move on to the next bit. This next part is pretty easy to do. I'm just gonna do the antenna again, but everything that's not these indented parts is gonna be black. So just go ahead and brush on it, but don't push too deep. You don't want to accidentally cover up the parts that are supposed to be metal with black, and you still don't want to miss any of the major metal bits. You don't want any of the black bits lead belcher, and you don't want any of the lead belcher bits black. And this one's just tiny. Teeny tiny. And there's a few little details, like there's rivets and stuff. We'll pick those out with Rune Fang when we get to there, but we're not there yet. Another spot. These bits right here are actually supposed to be Abaddon. Squeak, 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 squeak. It feels like this model would have actually been easier to just prime in lead belcher and then just paint all of the blue bits blue, instead of trying to go below the blue bits and paint all the Abaddon blacks Abaddon. Let me give this another shake. Sorry again about the camera. I know it's not the best quality. I forgot to get these two little bits lead belcher. We'll go back and get those in a minute. There we go. Nice and clean. And right now, we're going to get this little skull detail right here. So let's really clean out our brush for this one, because the skull is one of the few parts of this model that's going to be ceramite white, which is by far my least favorite color to paint with. So I'm really gonna be super careful with this. Get it like that, and then get it on the skull. Paint it all over. Get it nice and in the recess. So now that that's done, we do the Abaddon Black. Now I'm going to get it to a super fine point and try my best to just barely there we go. I don't know if you can see, but I got the eye hole filled in, and then I'm going to paint up and down this half of the sprocket and make this half of the sprocket black. Get those details, those teeth nice and filled in. And then this half of the skull I also want to be black. So let me try to get a straight line right down the middle. And detail that half of the skull. And let's go back and add one more thin layer of ceramite white. One more super thin layer. Get it just that nice, crisp white color. Bring it down, try to cut that piece of the sprocket in half as best as I can. Go over here. I can see that the McCrag blue is trying to bleed through a tiny bit. I don't want any color bleeding through my ceramite. Very nice. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but the skull is half and half, white and black. Tiny bit of cleanup. Got a little bit of white on the black side. There we go. And for the finishing touches on this, I'm going to do just a very, very thin. I'm going to take a tiny bit of Primaris gray and I'm going to highlight the eye socket and the teeth on the black side, like the light is catching it, to give it just a little bit more detail. So it's just a little bit easier to see. And you know what? You might as well Go all the way. Pick out the little sprocket teeth, because that's where the light would catch. Alright. After that, we're going to put some lead belcher into these pipes. Make them all nice and metal and shiny. Because we like shiny things. And then one more bit. Oh, that's not shaken up enough. We're going to take Rune Fang steel and pick out these little bolts. Pluck. Pluck. Bam. 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 Take your McCrag. Clean up any mistakes you made. But you didn't make any mistakes, did you? You're better at this than I am. And it looks nice. I wish you could. I unfortunately can't focus this any better, I don't think. Just a shame. Oh. Accidentally knocked my camera down again, so I had to fix that real quick. Alright. On to the next major part. Let's grab our Mephiston Red. I really like Mephiston Red. It's one of my favorite colors. It's just a really good color. Goes pretty well on everything. And we're going to pick out all of the red bits. The first red bit we're going to be grabbing is this little pipe right here. So yeah, there's a smaller pipe back here. That one's going to be black, so we're not going to worry about it. So just, you know, get all sides of this little red pipe. Nice. Then we're going to head to the back side. And there's these two big old pipes back here. You can see one is right here. And the other right here. And a couple more tiny bits of red. About as tiny as you can get. Oh shoot, I'm actually... Pause for 1 second. Before we get the red, we need more lead belcher. So the parts that need to be lead belched are the Space Marine's little eyeglass, visor. Oh, I'm sorry. The Space Marine's little eyeglass visor looking thing. and the light housing up in this corner and this corner. Just make them look nice. So yeah, up here and up here. However, I'm not going to paint this light just yet. I'll get to that in one moment. So, let's get to the important bits. Mephiston in red on these lights in here. Be very, very careful. It would probably be a good idea to adhere the cage after you paint these little lights. I don't even know if you can see them. There we go. No. Alright, yeah, there we go. You can see the little lights in there. And the other thing we need to get are the actual lenses of his little visor. Luckily, the red part of the lenses sticks out a bit, and you can just drag your brush over them and catch them. One more little red light over here, and that's that. Now, an important little bit that we're going to do is there's kind of a warning light up here. There's like a yellow spotlight kind of. I don't know how well you can see it. It's right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this yellow. And we're going to need a couple layers, because Flash Gets Yellow is a very thin paint. So let's let that dry for a second. While that's drying, let's get our Evil Sun's Scarlet. Let's shake that up a bit more. Wow, that's really chunky. That's not good at all. Alright, so I fixed it. It's now decently painty again, as a good paint should be. And so we're going to take, we're going to take the Evil Sun Scarlet, and we're going to pick out the highlights on these lenses. So we're just kind of going to do a tiny crescent moon on all of the lights, and then try to The lenses are so small you really won't be able to see it. So I'm just going to give it a slight brushing of a highlight on top. Oh, and this light over here, give it the crescent moon also. And finally with those, we're just going to give those lights the tiniest speck of Flash Gets Yellow. Just at the apex of that crescent. Just give it that tiny highlight of yellow. It looks good. Now, it's time to give our light that second layer of Flash Gets Yellow. There we go. Oh, sorry. Now you can see it's a bright yellow color. Much brighter than it was but a moment ago. So we're going to let that dry one more time. Kind of clean it up a little bit. While that's drying, there's one more thing we need to do. Or there's another thing we need to do. So we're going to take brass scorpion. Sorry. So we're going to get brass scorpion. And we're going to get these bullet chains right here. These ones on the underside of the barrel. Or on the, sorry, not the underside of the barrel, but the ones under the guns. And we're just going to paint all of the brass with brass scorpion. It's a very small detail. Most people probably won't even notice. But for those who do notice, it's a very nice detail. And honestly, in miniatures, the details are all that matter. And there's one more area of brass you need to get. On the side of the gun, you can see some of the bullets through the side of the magazine. So we'll get those there, kind of clean up a little bit of overspill that we got. There we go. Nice brass bullets through the magazine. And once again, I'm sorry if you can't see the little details. I promise I'll be getting a better camera when I have the opportunity. So for this missile silo, on the website, it has the missiles as a white color. I didn't think white missiles would look that good. So I'm going to paint them corn red and then give them a highlight of Mephiston on top. There we go. A nice layering of corn red. And when that's all dry, I'm going to put Mephiston on top. For now, I think we're still waiting for the Flash Gets to dry. So we're going to grab another paint pot that I forgot to get. Typhus Corrosion. Now I know I said I wanted this to kind of be a nice, fresh looking, not too beat up dreadnought. But there's one part that no matter how clean the dreadnought is, this part's going to get dirty. And that's the exhaust. So I like to do a brushing of typhus around the top of the exhaust. Kind of get it on the edges, get it on the lip. Bring it around. And then just bring it down. Just kind of brush it down. So you can still see the lead belcher through it, but it builds up that crud and that nastiness. And it just does not look pleasant. If you want, you can also get some on the antenna, because those antenna are right next to the exhaust pipes. I don't think I'm going to do that right now, but I am going to get a tiny bit of Abaddon, get it so it's real thin and dry, and brush that on the very top of the exhaust pipe where most of the smog would come out, just to make it a bit darker. There we go, nice smoggy exhaust pipes. Made a little bit of a mistake. Gonna take this and just clean it back up real quick and easy. Now, another detail that we need to get. Lead belcher again. Just get a very, very tiny amount of lead belcher. And for this yellow light, even thinner than that lead belcher, we're just going to go and we're going to barely brush it along so we catch the metal beams on top of the light. There we go. Easy as pie. You just got to barely nick those little beams so the metal catches them. Alright. There's honestly not much of this model left to paint. It's ultramarine, it's super easy. Quick, dirty. Well, not dirty, but you get the gist. So this gun part is black, and this rotate item is black. The gear housing is black. But you know, the barrels are metallic. Continue to get the gun housing. Doobly doobly doo. Doobly 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 doo. Easy as pie. No problems here. So, as you can see, it's coming along nicely. And now it's time for one of my favorite parts, dry brushing. I'm using Citadel's medium dry brush, and I'm going to dry brush the blue areas first with Fenrisian Gray. I just wanted to catch the very edges and make it a very, very light blue. Because if you're not familiar with the color, Fenrisian gray is a very light blue gray. I'm going to catch those edges. Those edges, you gotta catch them all. Really, honestly, dry brushing is, some people consider it cheating. I don't. I'm lazy. I love getting my models out quick and dirty. I'm not gonna win any crystal brushes or whatever. I just want these babies to get up on the tabletop and look nice. I think that's what most of you want too. Just, it's nice to have models for the tabletop, and you don't want to spend half of your lifetime painting models, and so you play 20, 30 games of Warhammer, and for the most part, your models are just gray. Nobody likes playing with or against gray plastic. Some people might. Some people might be weird like that. I don't know. I mean, I play Necron, so my army's gray anyway, so. Who am I to insult people who don't paint their minis? My Necron's practically come done. Oh, it's gray. You're finished. And if you want, you can just give them a spray paint of lead belcher, and that makes the whole job even easier. Catch that edge, get that highlight. Get that edgy highlight. Gotta love these colors. Really make it pop. You want to try to avoid anything that wouldn't look good with the blue-gray. So just avoid the metal bits, try to avoid the black bits, although we will be using a gray on the Abaddon Black. I don't want to use Fenrisian on the Abaddon Black parts. Alright, we're just about done with this highlight. Get a little more. With dry brushing, less is more. You hardly need anything on the brush for the dry brushing to come through. And if you don't think enough is coming through, just do it again. If you dry brush the same place 4 or 5 times, those colors will really start to catch. Just as you just build up layers and layers and layers of the color. Now, I am going to do a manual edge highlighting of the Fenrisian gray on the Space Marine's face to get that contrast, because I want his face to be nice and visible. I want you to be able to see his ugly, angry Space Marine mug easily through that metal cage. There we go. Now, we're going to do a quick wash. And we're going to use non-oil, like I mentioned at the very beginning, because it is mechanical. This is going to be a big wash. So you're going to have to bear with me on this. But remember, don't let the wash pool. Just wash it on. If it starts to pool, dab it off. Try to lead it where you want it to go. Make sure to get those recesses, because there is a lot of detail in this model that is easy to miss. My bad. Don't put your finger where you've just washed. That's a bad idea. My mistake. Wash the sides, wash the insides, wash the outsides. Just wash just about everything. Wash the big old Ultramarine stroller or baby carriage. I am going to avoid the little icon right in the middle because I don't want to wash down that ceramite white. Oh, sorry, I got him off camera. My apologies. Yeah, so I'm gonna avoid the little icon in the center because I do not want to wash down that ceramite white. So we're going to let this dry for a little while. You know, just give it a couple minutes. Or, well, it's actually better to give it closer to a half hour. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. I noticed the back of the gun. I forgot to lead belch up. Let that dry for a second, then I'm going to hit it with a second coat of lead belcher. I'm going to give the whole thing another, or at least I'm going to give all the top bits another dry brushing of Fenrisian. Because the wash brings it down and the dry brush brings it back up. Now we're going to take this brush, clean it out a little bit, then take Runefang steel, and get like, darn it, get the edges, pick out the sharp bits, pick out the corners, pick out the connecting areas, and the very tops of the beams. Get it that shiny metal color again. Just make it pop. Now that we've got the shadow, let's bring it up to the light. Ooh, that's not it. Really gives a luminance to it. Now the parts that are down here, I don't really want to pick out too much because, you know, they're going to be in the shadow of the Dreadnought's massive chassis. So I'm just going to get the parts that would have direct exposure to sunlight. And the other sharp bits, I'm just going to leave them. Hey, I already got you, right? Yeah, but it got darkened down again. So I'm going to bring up the top three that would be getting hit by the sunlight. Let's get the tops of those antennas, make them pop. Edges back here. There's not too many spots to get that wouldn't be in the shadow of the Dreadnought's body, because the Dreadnought has a big, big body. And then another thing we need is the Mechanicus Standard Gray. I'm going to take this. I'm going to give a couple little, let's get it even thinner, a couple little drag marks along the top of the black areas where the sun would be hitting. Oops. Got a little on the metal, let's clean that up. Now it's kind of disguising a little bit with the lead belcher, so you got to make sure it doesn't get too convoluted. Alright, get a little bit over here on the edge. And a little bit on this edge. And bring it up and clean it up. Bring it up and clean it up. Bring it up and clean it up. And then let's really edge highlight the gun. Alright, two more things to do. I need my Retributor armor, my favorite gold. Gonna pick out the skull. Picking out the little gold skull on the side, making it look all nice and pretty. Alright, now that it's been picked out, we're going to let it dry for just a second. That's long enough to dry. We're going to hit it with a wash of Seraphim Sepia. Then we'll give that a second to dry. And once the Seraphim Sepia is dried on the gold, it gives it this kind of burnt gold look. And then you can pick out all of the details with more Rune Lord brass. Or no, sorry, not Rune Lord brass. Rune Fang steel. My apologies. So while the sepia is drying, I'm going to take Mephiston Red. And like I said before, like I said before, I'm going to take this Mephiston Red. I'm going to highlight the top half of these little missiles. Big, bright red missiles like angry eyes to intimidate your opponent. Stare into their soul, stare directly into their wound pool. Ah! Alright, you stand back up. You can pop in. I believe in you. Told me not to glue you, so you should stay in. I believe in you. Gonna take a tiny bit more Fenrizi in. And highlight the helmet again. So taking a little bit more Fenrisian and highlighting the helmet again. You know, just to get that contrast. Yeah, so I'm going to take a tiny bit of Fenrisian, highlight his little mohawk thing that all Space Marines seem to have, highlight his eyebrow, the top of his mouth, and just gently highlight his helmet so you can see it from outside. I can clearly see the features of his face from like an arm's distance away. He looks pissed. So now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and glue the chassis shut. And I don't know how well you can actually see it, but it definitely looks like an Ultramarine dreadnought. It looks big, aggressive, burly, and a little bit oily. So I did the transfer sheets off camera because they're a little bit of a pain, but now it's got the symbols of Ultramar, the symbol of the 9th Legion. He's happy, ready to go. He's got missiles, he's got lights, he's got all these glowy bits. And I hope you enjoyed this little video. I know it's not like my usual videos, and I know it's not going to be in the best quality, and I'm sorry about that. Hopefully my next one will be a little bit better, a little bit quicker, a little bit smoother. This one definitely could have gone better, but I'm definitely happy with the way it turned out. Not my best, not my worst. I just want to say thank you for watching. Your support means a lot to me, and if you'd like to help out the channel, it'd be great if you could just leave a like, leave a comment, tell me what you thought, if you liked it, if you hated it. Let me know. And I want to say just thank you one more time, and you have a wonderful evening. I'll try to upload a better picture of it. I know my camera quality is very much lacking, as you can tell. But I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know I enjoyed myself, and I'll see you on the next one.